Okay, in the last lesson in 5A, we learned what a term is, and that basically a math expression is just a one or more terms that are set next to each other. In this lesson, what we're going to learn is that every term has different parts to it, and what you need to learn is the parts of the term. So, the first kind of term that we're going to look at in this chart is a variable term. Okay? So what I did here is I gave you an example. For instance, we have 2 times x to the third power. Now in the chart, I put the verbal phrase here, 2 times x to the third power, so you know how to read this, because so far we haven't done much with exponents. Okay? Now, the number in front of the variable, the 2, is what we call a coefficient. Okay? So I've put the definition here for you. Then we know already that the variable is x and that the exponent is 3. So that's going to be the little number to the upper right-hand corner of the variable. We also call an exponent a power, and you want to know that those words are interchangeable. Okay, the second example I gave you was 5 times x to the 6th power. So because 5 is the number in front of the variable, we call that the coefficient in the term. And then a is the variable in the term, and 6 is the exponent of that term. Okay? Then the last example I gave you is 4 times x times y to the 2nd power. The coefficient on this term is 4. The variables are x times y. So we have 2 different variables in this example. And the exponent on the y value is 2. Okay, so we'll get into this a little bit more in later lessons. I've also included in this lesson a couple of special cases. If you don't see a coefficient or an exponent, you must realize that they are both there and that they have the value of 1. So we already talked about a term x. If 1 times x equals x, then you don't need to write the number 1. You're just going to write the number x. But also, since x to the first power is also equal to x, you don't need to write the 1. Okay, so I made a chart here for you with those special cases. So if you have a term, which we said is a part of an expression, and that term is just called x, then the coefficient is 1. The variable is x, but the exponent is also 1. And you need to get used to understanding that all 3 parts of those terms are there. So here our term is y. You need to realize that the coefficient is 1 and the exponent is also 1. It's just not necessary to write those. And the last thing I put here is that constant terms are just a single number. So they only have one part, just the number. And that's opposed to the variable terms, which have 3 parts. So after you've watched this video, you can go below and take the 10-question quiz about the parts of a term.